So this is actually related to ATLAS.Ti workshop. So it's actually a software for doing qualitative. Some of you might be interested to do for literature review. Some of you might be interested to analyze if you are doing on mixed method data. So it will be actually helpful for analyzing rather than doing manually. But I will also show how students perform qualitative data manually as well. Okay. All right, so as mentioned just now, I am Dr. Amalina. I am from Faculty of Languages and Communication. I believe that the students who are doing on ATLAS.Ti, doing on a flipped classroom, flipped classroom. So I think that it will be good to explore more on this, all right? Okay, so this is actually okay, so at the end of this workshop, so I really hope that all of you can find out several qualitative methods for data collection and also to practice hands-on exercise for working with ATLAS.Ti and also to explore the function of AI for helping with the analysis. So we'll also have a short look at the AI function for helping with the analysis, right? Okay, so anyone here can share what do you understand with this one? So someone is actually looking at the leaves or branches or try to fix a tree, but actually the real problem is in the root. So anyone that would like to share your idea about this one? Okay, here. Lina, are you here, Lina? So what do you understand about the sharing just now about the tree?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Okay. About this one. What do you understand? What's the problem? What's the problem in your what's the problem in your study?
Let me think about it.
Something related to the hotel. I mean, you are doing on hotel, right? I mean,
yeah, because maybe the professionalism in hotel industry it's in a very unstable level. I mean, because in the first semester and the second semester, I have maybe a questionnaire, and I say I say a lot of hotel industries, hotel employees in KL. When I have a interview with some managers, from KL, I find the level of professionalism is not very high. I mean, some employees have very higher professionalism, and but some not. I have find some variables related with professionalism. So that's why, yeah, I would like to have a try. And maybe it's a very preliminary stage about my research, but because I have to read more about such kind of aspects.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lina, for sharing. So I think that is a very good that you know the problem, right? Because it's something related to the professionalism. As you mentioned that some of the hotel employees, maybe they do not really practice professionalism when it comes to work, and then it will also affect some kind of like maybe customer satisfactions whenever that employees or hotel staff, they do not really practice
Yeah.
professionalism at work, right? Okay, so I think that this is very, very important, that even though we are doing a research on, okay, even though we are doing a research on the tree, or we are doing a research on hotel management, or we are doing a research on flipped classroom, or we are doing a research on perhaps robotic, or maybe on certain public figure, but actually we also at the same time have to really look at what's the problem that we want to carry out this study, what's are the things that we want to address towards the end. Okay, because addressing the problem, I think that is a very important, that what's make our, that's how it will make our research is actually very, very significant, right? Okay, so I love to share this quote from Albert Einstein. Whenever that we mention about qualitative data or qualitative method or qualitative analysis, so it's actually something about that not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. So anyone would like to share what do you understand from this one? This is actually a very popular one if you are doing on qualitative, so I think that this is the most favorite, my favorite codes to share. So anyone can share what do you understand about this one? Counted, yes, 10 people sat, all right. Not counted. How can we say if it's something that not counted? How sad it is. All right, that is cool. So counted, 10 people sad, 10 people are not happy this morning. Whereas uncounted, how sad it is. How sad it is, right? Or perhaps what would be the reasons that make you sad this morning, right? Okay, satisfaction cannot be counted. I would say that I can count satisfaction if we are using on the scale. Is it very satisfied to not very satisfied? Can be counted. We give a scale 5, very satisfied, or perhaps 1, not very satisfied. Then we can measure. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question, all right? Because not everything that matters, not everything that matters can be measured, not everything focused on is really valuable. Yeah, it's something that, thank you, Lina, all right? Okay, so what can we say here is, I'm giving like a very simple, yes, we understand that money can be counted, right? Money can be counted, right? So, and it is very important. It is very important. But actually, there are other things. There are other things. Yes, we cannot count, but they are also worthy of life. Like for example, we are talking about just now. Someone is talking about, Narayan is talking about sad. We are talking about happiness. We're talking about pain. All right. So, I think that although we can describe the pain, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when we experienced the pain, P-A-I-N, pain, and we can share, even 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we can share, we can describe. But if I ask everyone here, how many times you experience pain, will you be able to count? Will you be able to count pain? But you can describe about it. You can share. That is the most terrible. That is the most painful. But if I ask you how many times you experience the most painful moment in your life, but can you count? Tak boleh. We can't. but we can talk about it. We can describe, we can explain to someone. Am I right? Kita boleh cerita kan? We can describe kan? Even if it was 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we still remember that moment. But if someone asks you how many times, I think that it will be very difficult. But it doesn't mean that it's not important. It's very important, like happiness. I think it's very important to remember happy moments in life, right? But I think when someone asks you, okay, if you can remember, if you can describe, if you can explain, perhaps you can count how many times. Would that be difficult to count happy moments in life? Maybe in these 10 years, or maybe in 5 years, can we count? It will be difficult. And I think that unless you track a record, but even if we track a record, it's still very difficult, because there are things which is very, very important, and there are important things in our life that we don't count, but there are, and they're still yet meaningful. They are very, very important, right? And there are things in life, and yes, they are very important, and we can measure them, we can count, all right? But there are certain things, like for example, feelings, experience, views, that we cannot count on it. But we cannot count on this experience, feelings. But yes, they are actually very important for our research and for our study. Okay. Like for example, if you want to understand in details about satisfaction, okay, about satisfaction, maybe you want to ask about customer satisfaction. Yes, there are certain points that we can ask them to give a measure. We can ask them to give, okay, from 1 until 10. So can you measure how satisfied you are with our service? So we can give the rating, all right? We can rate. But there are also at one point that we're going to ask in details. Let's say, for example, the customer giving a very bad feedback. I just give 2. Of course, we would like to know more. Why is just 2? Why not 9? Or why not 10? So we want to know. So if you think that there's a problem with our service, can you please explain more? What can we help? Or what can we improve? So in that situation, so I think that we need to ask more in-depth questions so that we can get further details, right? So maybe the respondent will say that, yeah, there was a time when I go to the counter or to the hotel reception, and then the receptionist there did not entertain me. So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for 15 minutes, and no one come and to entertain me. That's why I give a very bad rating. That's why I give 2. So after 15 minutes waiting, right? So then we know, oh, okay. So we apologize for that incident. We know that everyone is actually would like to get better service, quick service, but we apologize because at that time, it was during maybe masa rehat, right? So the staff is actually going for a lunch. So we're really sorry that you have to wait that 15 minutes, something like that, all right? Okay, Chan mentioned that something can be counted by numbers, but lots of things cannot be counted by numbers or difficult to be counted in a shorter time. Yes, so there are things that we can count, that we can measure, but there are a lot of things that is very difficult to count and measure, and that's why we are actually using qualitative. Some of you mentioned about doing interview to ask more in-depth questions, okay? Okay, so, and of course you decide towards the end whether you want to be happy or you want to be sad, whether you want to actually explore more on views or people's thoughts, or perhaps you want to know about their life experience, those who are doing on historical figure, for example. So it's very important to track like years of leadership, for example, years of success, okay, and you want to get more about that person because he was like historical figure, for example, right? Okay, so this is actually just a very basic example about the difference between quantitative and qualitative. Like for example, this is also like, I think that some of you have seen this. For example, only 1 in 30 take the free ice cream, which is actually interesting to know about this fact. But for qualitative researchers, we are not only looking at the numbers, we are also looking at the reasons. Okay, we would like to know more about, the why questions, okay, or the what questions. Like for example, of course, we ask sort of questions like, what did you feel when you saw the free ice cream? Okay, and we get the answer from this small kid that, yes, I'm so excited, okay, but also a little scared. And of course, you want to know more about it. Why? And why was that? Why you're scared of the free ice cream? Perhaps that kids were advised or were trained by the parents not to take anything from strangers. You cannot take anything, even if it's candies or sweets or gift. Don't take from strangers. It's very dangerous, for example. Okay? So it's very dangerous. So that's why that little kid feels scared, and although he is so excited about receiving free items, free candies, free ice cream, but still he is also taking like precautions to get free gift from strangers, right? So this is actually more on qualitative because you want to know in details. We want to know why questions, right? Then we use qualitative methods, right? Okay, so for those who are, some of you were in the phase of doing the research proposal. Some of you are currently maybe doing on data analysis. Some of you might be looking at the title, what to write for your research, or some of you might be still confusing. Okay, so for qualitative data collection, there are a few methods, okay? It's not only we are dealing with human being, okay, or human subjects. Like for example, if you would like to do the research, okay, considering human subject, of course, you can go for phone interview, you can go for face-to-face interview, all right, personal, or we call personal interview. We can also have focus group interview in a group, okay, and we can also have online interview. So if our data dealing with human subject, so the same thing goes to observation. We can also observe, whether it is participant observation or perhaps non-participant observation. Okay, so whether when we observe, the others realize the researchers present, or when we observe that the participants, they don't even realize about it. They don't realize, because like we are part of the we are part of the, maybe we are in that situation as well, or maybe we are also at school, so they don't realize that we are also part of the community, right? Okay, when it comes to qualitative data collection, it's not only that we can collect the data from people, from human, but we can also collect the data from documents, from the textbook, from the blueprints, from the policy paper, right? What else that we can take? What else can be our documents? Your journal articles. If you want to do a systematic literature review, we can have collection of journal articles. What else? Maybe reports. Yeah, reports. Yes, that can be our data, right? We can also have news articles. if we are doing on news article, it can be our data for a certain time frame that we want to see. We want to see in terms of the reporting of certain events. Diary can also be our data, right? If we have a written diary. Artwork can also be our data, artwork or drawing, okay? This can be our data if you are doing on qualitative, right? Poster and billboard, yes, can also be our data, right? So if you're using on advertisement, for example, this poster, this ads poster can be our data, or billboard ads can also be our data, right? The same thing goes to this one. The billboard can be our data, right? We can analyze the images, we can analyze the phrase, okay? Okay, not only posters, billboard, documents, it can also be audio visual. Let's say, for example, if you're doing on, maybe you want to understand more about the use of language to music, for example, through song. Yes, we can analyze the lyrics, the song lyrics, or music, perhaps the music recording, the films, right? Or short movies, for example. Okay, so I think that once we understand about data collection, all right, so now we want to move on for analyzing the qualitative data. So we have several. I just list here, I think, the main analysis that we use. So, but still, I think that most of you are very familiar with content analysis. Perhaps you also know about thematic analysis. We also have discourse analysis, conversation analysis, and also narrative. Okay. I think for those who are using on public figure just now, ketokohan, maybe you want to go further into narrative analysis. Like, for example, for those who are collecting newspaper articles, perhaps you will be doing on content analysis of newspapers, or you are doing content analysis of let's say, for example, maybe about math, right? Responses from parents about math, or perhaps about sciences, or maybe related to STEM, for example. So if you want to go further, it can be also thematic analysis. So looking at the patterns, the themes within the data, and you want to go even more deeper on critical, a bit critical. So explore the meaning that produced by the language and communication, and also looking at the context, right? And then we also have conversation analysis. If you're interested into doing like the conversation between teachers and students, lecturers and students, or maybe the conversation between doctors and patients, the conversation between coach and players. Okay, that is actually we're doing on conversation. And while on the narrative analysis is emphasized on what is the story and why the story was actually told in that way. Okay, that is actually we are using narrative. Okay, so this is actually how to start. So we need to get familiar with this one first before we move to analyzing using ATLAS.Ti. Okay, so the first one, of course, we have to organize and transcribe the data. The next part, we have to be familiar with the data. Okay, and once we getting familiar with the data, we understand about maybe our interview data, or we understand about our newspapers articles, we understand about our observation notes, for example, then we start doing the coding. And once we start doing the coding, we start creating codes, and then we categorize our codes, and then we start come up with the themes. Okay, and the last one, of course, we cleaning unnecessary themes or categories, and we start doing doing theorizing. It means that we have the theory. So once when we get the findings, and then how to relate to the theory back. Okay. So this is actually something we were talking about coding. What is actually code? It can be words, it can be a phrase or sentence that represent the data. Okay, the essence of the data, and of course, why we are doing coding, because, like for example, we have interview data. Like if let's say it is for 2 hours interview data, it's gonna take 18 to 20 pages of the transcript, of the interview transcript. So that's why it's very important to do coding from the large amount of data of words, images that we have. We're going to organize into a meaningful data or manageable chunks. Right? That is okay. So if you're doing manually, so this is actually how we do it manually. Okay, let's say for example, you're the interviewer. So the questions, tell me about general impressions of these past semesters. So the participants say that I wasn't horrible. I think it caught us off guard, the teachers and the students. All of the kids were frustrated because the fields were cancelled and everything changing was hard. I tried to think about it from the perspective of the professors having kids stuck at home. So, and, and continue with the rest. That was hard to get used to be honest. Okay. So we start preparing the codes, like for example, unprepared for difficulty. That can be the code that we can think of. And then the participant was frustrated, right? And also it mentioned something about the struggle, like for example, struggle with online learning. Okay. And then if you go next, the interviewer also asked about what did online learning look like for you. And then the respondent said some professor had class and some just posted on the blackboard, and learning from the blackboard is actually really, really hard, super hard. And that student, of course, prefer to have face-to-face class, okay? Because to get to learn from the professor, to listen from the professor is actually, it will be great, okay? So we write the codes here, like for example, struggle with online class, on online learning, or prefer for physical class. Okay, so that is actually the code that we can highlight, and then we provide the codes. Okay, so this is actually for those who are doing in Bahasa Melayu. Right, so let's say you want to know about whether the content of the class is interactive or not. Maybe the teacher would like to know whether is it okay or is it not okay, the teaching and learning process. So that's why we can actually highlight and we provide what will be as a code. Okay, so like for example, it mentioned here about the keywords, it mentioned here about the mind mapping. For example, the respondents mentioned about the mind mapping. That's why we put it here, like very understandable mind mapping. Okay, and then if it's just a lecture, it will be very boring, right? And then the students cannot give attention if it's just only lectures. So if it comes with mind mapping, it comes with keywords, so it will be very easy for the students to remember the lessons. So this is actually the response from the respondents whenever that a teacher asks a question whether the class is interesting or not. Okay, and then the teacher also would like to get further details. If it is interesting, why it is interesting, and if it's not interesting, why the class is not interesting. Okay, so the students give some responses towards it. So they compare about the teacher in the previous situation and the teacher in the current situation. Previously, maybe if it's just lecture and lecture and lecture, so the student feel boring. But whenever that the teacher started using a different method, provide mind mapping, or maybe having an interactive class, using keywords, using maybe video, for example. So it is more interesting. Okay, right. Okay, so now Can we go to ATLAS.Ti? Can everyone open your ATLAS.Ti? Because we're gonna do it together. Is it okay? Because it's more on tutorial. I think that it will be very good if we can do it together. I'm gonna open. I reshare the. Okay. Yeah. So this one, yes, the trial version. Because this trial version is only valid for 5 days, so I don't want to give it very early, because maybe if you install very early and then you not gonna have, I mean, you cannot go back and practice with it because it's just only valid for 5 days. The new campus is out of Wi-Fi. We can't connect the internet. All right. Okay, so I think that for those who cannot install, that's okay. That's okay. I think that our session is recorded, so maybe later you can watch the recording session back, right? And then you can still practice with the software. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, for those who have finished, I really hope that you also have some documents. What I meant by documents, you also have, I mean, it's fine just to have like articles related to your study. Like for example, if you're doing on flipped classroom, so you have like recent articles related to flipped classroom. So if you're doing on robotic, or if you're doing on application apps, so it will be good if you can have several articles. The same goes to those who are doing on entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs. Maybe you have a few articles, right? A few articles related to entrepreneurs, a few articles related to maybe professionalism, customer satisfaction, for example, or something about the changes or school administration, so that later, whenever that we do, so is actually related to our research. It's related to our study. Okay, because you can also do it. Let's say you don't have the data yet, that's totally fine, because you can do it for your literature review. I got a question here. So if you have interview that has been transcribed, yes, you can also, I mean, that is actually very useful data. So you can also use it for our ATLAS.Ti. We can have a practice. So if you have finished with the download, okay, the installation, all right, so this is actually the interface that you're going to see for ATLAS.Ti. All right. uh okay, don't worry if you have the old version. All right, if you have the old version, let's say for example, if you have ATLAS.Ti 22, that's okay. Even let's say just now there is actually a student asked me, let's say I have ATLAS.Ti version 9, still okay, because ATLAS.Ti version 23, it comes with AI. Okay, that's the different. The latest version of ATLAS.Ti, it comes with AI. Okay, regarding the transcription, actually there are, if let's say the interview is in English, there are a software that can capture, but still it doesn't actually 100% correct, because sometimes the system can record maybe different words that we pronounce, and then maybe the computer just record the words differently. Okay, but if it is in Malay, I think unfortunately I couldn't find any software that can capture. It's very difficult, right? But what will I show later? um, I don't transcribe for the interview data. Whenever that I started using ATLAS.Ti, I straight away coded the audio data. I only transcribe, I only get the excerpt. Yeah, I only get the excerpt that I wish to put in my write-up. Okay, because if you're using ATLAS.Ti, you can straight away code it. But of course, as a student, maybe you just transcribe once. let's say your supervisor would like to see one interview transcript in the appendix, for example. All right. Okay. So then you can transcribe once. Even when I was a student before, even though I can do it straight away, but I still doing the transcription because I want to know the process. I want to know how difficult it is doing the transcription. Okay. But just to mention, when I was using ATLAS.Ti, it was ATLAS.Ti 7. It was very, very old ATLAS.Ti. But now it is ATLAS.Ti 23. So I think that is super efficient, super good as compared to the previous one. But still, it was still good, even though it was not the latest. But I'm using transcription. So of course, there are always different school of thoughts whenever you ask someone's opinions about transcribing interview data or about transcribing your observation data. There's always there's always a debate about it. All right. So my response, if we can have a software, that can speed up the process, so why not we straight away? Because after all, I mean, we also acknowledge that to analyze the data is not only we can analyze the written, okay, we can also analyze the visual data, and we can also analyze straight away the audio data. Okay, so let us start. I think that all of you have already opened the ATLAS.Ti. So this is actually the interface, all right? So what we can do now, you can just go to the new project. Okay, we want to start creating a project, all right? Please click. Okay, so now we name the project. So it can be maybe trial, or maybe you want to do it master's or PhD project, master's project, that's okay. All right. So let's say I want to say that okay, so once we have written the project name and we click create. Okay, so because the title of my project is Trial ATLAS.Ti August 23, so this is actually the overview, right? The overview. So now what we're gonna do, we want to add all data that we have. It's not only the PDF, the documents, but we're gonna add like maybe posters, we're gonna add photos, we're gonna add audio, we're gonna add video. So if you don't have video, audio, but you still want to try it out, you want to practice, yeah, just get any song from your documents, just get any maybe Happy New Year video. Yeah, just because we just want to give a try. Okay, is that okay? But if you have a recorded video related to your data, by all means, you can also put it in ATLAS.Ti. All right. Okay. Do you have the documents? Can we start? Okay, so now we want to add the document first. If you look at here, so it's not that difficult. When I say it's not that difficult, so it's not so many jargon in ATLAS.Ti. So what you can see is just file, right? It's just file, home, search and code, analyze, import, tools. Add documents, project, documents, quotation codes, memo, networks, links. I mean, we don't even use all of this. We may use only a few, but these are not alien to us. So I think that these tools and the words in this ATLAS.Ti is not something that alien, right? It's not something that you have never seen. Even when you open Windows or when you open Word, you still see the same thing. You can see file, you can see home. I mean, you are familiar, right? Okay, so let us first start with adding the documents or adding your data, all right? So I think that we can see here file,
Then go to either's
add documents, right? Can you please click add documents?
Bus doesn't go to the main train station.
Okay, so if you have all the documents in one folder, you can add,
Go to either the B.
right? But if you don't have, that's okay to just add one by one. Just add files. Okay, you click add files. Okay, so let's say for example, I want to take the articles. It's okay if, let's say, even if the articles written in Mandarin, yeah, that's fine. If the articles written in Arabic, also fine. You just take it. I mean, that's our data, that's our main articles, right? Okay. So the same thing, if the articles is in Bahasa Melayu, is in Malay, that is also fine. All right. So let's say this one. So if you want to have more articles taken from the file, just right the shift button and then use the drop button. Okay, so we have already 5 articles being selected. All right, so now I'm gonna go for open. Okay, so it's written here 6 document being added. So if you want to look at the details of the articles, you can, I mean, if you can see the triangle, like this triangle, just click. Okay, so you can see that, oh, okay, so these are the all documents. Okay, so this is the documents. So now this is all the PDF documents, right? Okay, so we're gonna add a few more. Let's say if you have images or posters, yes, please. Okay, again the same method. All right, go to add documents, click add files. Okay, let's say I want to have this JPEG and PNG, all right? So click here, the shift. So now we're gonna have documents in images, okay? So we already have 9 documents, okay? Okay, so we have documents in words, we have PDF documents, we have documents in JPEG and PNG. Okay, we're gonna add audio. Okay, documents in the form of audio and video, right? So again, the same process. Okay, we just repeat the same thing. Add documents, go and, sorry, I don't want to add folder. Okay, so we click here. Okay, so I do have this document and video. Okay, so I'm gonna take this audio and also video. Okay, so altogether we already have 12 documents. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, let me go to this article, Understanding the Role of Digitalization. Okay. Okay, to business model and innovation economics and business review study. Okay, so anyone here doing on entrepreneurship just now, right? So is this article related? Okay, so let me make it bigger. Okay, so this is actually the PDF or the journal article that we have, right? So now what we're going to do is actually we want to start highlighting. We want to start highlighting and also we want to start coding this article, all right? Okay, so let's say we're going to search. This is actually this article talking about management context, right? So that's okay. Okay, let's say we want to start highlighting. Okay, so what we can do, this part we can highlight. Okay, I've already highlighted. All right. So when we highlight, we can see up there code in vivo, apply codes, create free quotations. Okay, so we can also use here, but let's first try using the right click. Okay, the right click. Okay, so now, so the one that we highlighted is something about digital technology, right? So digital technology for business. Okay, so let's say I click apply codes. Okay, so now we're gonna provide like codes for the one that we have highlighted. What is actually something? What can we say about this highlighted? Let me move a little bit. What can we say about this highlighted text? Okay, so let's say I digital technology. What can we say about this one? Digital technology, business innovation. Okay, just put it first. Business innovation. Okay, so click the plus button. Okay, all right. Okay, let us try next. Okay, the same thing. So now we already start doing the coding. All right, this is actually the coding process. We read about the articles, so we try to understand what is it all about, and then we provide the codes. Remember, the codes is actually the phrase, or it can be also the same thing. It can be also the same thing as what's the article written. Okay, let us try another one. Okay, so I highlight this one. Another reason, for example, the role of digital in business model innovation is effort to increase corporate and brand awareness for the use of social media. Okay, so I highlight this part. Once we highlight, right click, click apply codes, right? So this is actually something about digital innovation. Yeah, correct. Increase corporate and brand awareness. Is corporate and brand. Yeah, I'm just using the same thing, right? Increase corporate and brand awareness. And then now we click the add button, the plus button. Okay. Okay, we go down. We give it one more try. Okay. So later we move to the other article. Okay, so okay, is something here potential customer in business. Okay, so it mentioned here creating a business profile on LinkedIn. Okay, if you don't want to do the right click, we can also we can see on top of this. Okay, so if you don't want to use the right click button, all right, we can go top. You can see apply codes. Just click apply codes. Just click apply codes. All right. So this one, we're gonna say something about digital innovation. Digital innovation, visibility. I would say business visibility. Okay. All right. So we click add. Okay. Is it okay? Why business visibility? Because we are exposing our business, right, to new professionals, to customers. So we make it our business visible to the others. That's why digital innovation, something about business visibility. Okay, so let's say if you doubt, right, why you have to put digital innovation, business visibility, why you have to put digital business, like, and another dash. So you can write straight away. Okay, so this is actually based on my own experience, because whenever I started to have more quotes, 100 overs, so I started to forget. Okay, I started to forget, and I'll be more unorganized. So if I write in a more specific, okay, oh, this is digital innovation, I put dash definition. So it will be very easier for me to track later. Oh, this digital innovation, I'm talking about definition. Oh, this one, I'm talking about business visibility. Oh, this one, I'm talking about customer engagement, for example. All right. So when you just have like maybe 10 codes, 20 codes, that is totally fine. But when you start having 200 codes, okay, so that's where the headaches start coming. You also forget, oh, you have to click and click and click. What is it all about? So sometimes you forget about, let's say, last year, not to say last year, about the last year codes that we have done, because remember the data, it will take sometimes a longer process. Or don't talk about last year, just talk about last month. Oh, I forget the last month codes that I prepared. What is that code meant for? Okay, so to make it easier for me, or you can also have, let's say, if you want to have like shorter codes, that's also fine. But we can also have like, if you right click, we can also write a comment. Okay, so if you can say here, like edit comments, we can also write a comment so that we will be able to remember if this one is actually, oh, this is actually for my literature review, for example. Okay, this is actually the codes that I prepare for literature review chapter. Okay, so we just click edit comment. Okay, so perhaps I would say that, okay, this is for lit review chapter. Sorry, chapter. Okay, all right. So then click save. Okay. Ah, this comment is currently disabled. Why this comment? Okay. Okay, click save. All right. All right. Okay, so I have notes here, a small notes. Okay, so it means if I click here, I know, oh, okay, I got a notes here. Okay, so let's say if this is actually the part that you want to just remind yourself, right? So it will be very easier to have notes, or okay, to just make it like more systematic. Okay, right. Okay, do you want me to repeat, or can we proceed for coding images or posters? Is it okay? I think you can code. Okay, let us go and try another documents. Okay, another documents. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. The role of digitalization in business and management. Okay. Okay, so let's say we want to take, which part do we want to take? Okay, so let's say this part. Okay, we highlight on this part. Okay. Okay, something about the digital technology. Again, as I mentioned, when we want to create codes, we can either use right-click button, or we can also find on top. So we can also click right. Okay, so now this is actually something digital technology. I will write down digital technology. Using the word, maintaining the word reinforcement of disruptions. What does that mean? What does that mean? Anyone here from business? Okay, so I click plus. So let's say if I want to go for another articles, right? So we want to go for another articles. Let's see. Okay, so let's say for this part, something about relationship with the customers. All right. Okay, so right click, apply codes. Let's say if the same. So it's actually something about digital technology, business innovation. All right. So we just choose from the list, click, and then click plus button. All right. Because it's just the same. We already have in our list, right? Unless we want to apply one because we want to write down the new one because it's not in the list. Okay. Okay, so let's say, for example, let me check first. Digital is the process of converting. Okay, so let's say, so this is actually the definition. Okay, this is the definition. Okay, like for example, okay, right click, apply codes. I would just digitalization definition. Okay, so that it will, it will better to remember letter. Okay, so this is for definition. All right, so is it okay so far? Is it okay for the codes? Can you all follow? Yes. How about the others? Okay, yes. How about the others? Is it okay? Or still struggling? Because I have to admit that for the first time, um, it's not easy just to learn one time, just 3 hours that you can become expert. Yes, it will take sometimes, but practice, the more practice that we try, and then you can explore more later, I think that you can be good. All right. Okay. Okay, so now we have I think that we are good with the document. So what we can do now, okay, we're gonna do the images. Okay, so how that we can code images, all right? So this is actually very interesting. We can code images, right? Okay, so now first we can, it's the same process. It's the same process. We're gonna highlight, all right? So let's say for example we're gonna highlight this part. What can we say about them? Okay, I've already highlighted. What can we say about them that relate to this poster? What can we say about them? Happy and unity. Can we be more specific? Something that related to the poster. There are women entrepreneurs. Am I right? Women entrepreneurs, right? Okay. So let's say we write here, women entrepreneurs. It is something mentioned about digitalization. Okay, so I write here digitalization. I can be more specific, support women entrepreneurs. Okay, so and then click the plus button. All right, is it okay? Okay, so this part I'm gonna highlight too because this is actually important point. All right, so let's say if it is the same, okay, the same as the previous coded, what can we do? We just click, right click, we just click quick coding. Quick coding means we want to repeat the same coded as previously. All right. Okay, is it okay now? The photo? Is it okay? Okay, let us try another ones. Okay. So this is actually in Bahasa Melayu. It's okay in whatever languages, but because we are using English, so the code will be in English. It will be very easier not to mess up. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's say for example, digitalization. So I highlight this part again. Okay, I highlight this part again. So I click apply codes. So this is something about digitalization. E-business, e-payment. Okay, e-payment, because it's mentioned about e-payment, right? Okay. Or perhaps digital, let's say if you want to code something else, right? You want to code something else, click apply codes. So maybe digital innovation, increase sales. Betul tak? Okay. Alright. Okay, so let's say if this is actually the same thing. Okay. So right click, apply codes. So it's something about e-payment, right? Or e-dagang. Oh, sorry, e-dagang. So let's say e-dagang, what is it? What is it in Bahasa Melayu, e-dagang? E-business, right? Can we say e-business? Digitalization? Digitalization, e-business. Betul tak? Okay, alright. So let's say this is actually about entrepreneurs. So right click, apply codes. I think that we have for women, support women entrepreneurship. Okay. Nilai JB berjaya di sana. So let's say this one is actually something about increased sales. Right click, apply codes. I think we have increased sales just now. This one. Okay. Okay, is it okay? We're done? Don't forget, we can save the one that we have coded. If you can see that this button, nampak tak? Boleh nampak tak? Okay, it's small button next to ATLAS.Ti icon. Just click save. So the project saved successful. Okay? Is it okay now? Can you all follow? Yes, all right. Okay, so now we're going to move to audio. Okay, we're going to move to audio. All right, so I have audio. What's my audio? Okay. So I do have an interview. Okay, I do have an interview with the entrepreneurs. Okay, and this interview is in Bahasa Melayu, is in Malay. That's okay. That's fine. Whether it's in Malay or whether it's in English, but the coding, the codes that I'm going to prepare still in English, because I mean this is in English. So even the interview is in Bahasa Melayu, because later I will translate straight away for the write-up. Okay. Okay, so let's say we play. Okay, we can move this. This one is actually where we're gonna take. Okay, so let's say this part. Okay, so this is actually at which minutes that that the interview has been recorded, right? It's the same practice, but it will be a bit tricky, right? So let's say we're gonna listen for a while. Don't worry, maybe you might not listen to this one. I have to mute because I'm using two computers, otherwise it will get echo. So you're gonna listen to this interview, and then the interviewee mentioned something about this digital business helped me a lot. All right, helped me a lot, especially being a woman. It helps me a lot because it is actually easier for me to do the e-business. It is easier for me to do the e-payment. All right. So it's this part. Okay. So what we're gonna do now, can you see this line? Okay, this is actually the part that our interviewee mentioned just now about the e-business is actually easier to support women. So we're gonna highlight at the wave. Okay, we're gonna highlight this part. It's again the same thing. We do highlight and we code. Okay, so we highlight this part, but don't move the yellow line, because if you move the yellow line, it will actually move this one. I mean, it will not be highlighting. Okay, okay. So we just like go a little bit up from the yellow line. Okay, hold your mouse and hold your mouse, click and hold. Okay, so let's say we want to highlight this part. Okay, so now right click. I'm going to repeat later, don't worry if you cannot if you cannot do it. Okay, right click, so apply codes. Let's say if something about support women entrepreneurship, because the interviewee mentioned that with e-business it made things more easier, especially for women, right? So click this one and plus button. Okay, so let's say we listen again. So after we listen again this part, and then it mentioned about okay, let's say it mentioned about digital business. Let's say for example, so digital, let's say for example, digital innovation open for threats. Okay, so let's say although your interviewee mentioned is good for women, it supports that this digital business support, but it also open for threats, or perhaps if you don't want to use, maybe we use another words, cyber security issue, let's say, because you are open for scamming, so perhaps scammers are always looking for you, right? So let's say cybersecurity issue. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna repeat. Let's say we listen back to the interview, and then this time it also talk about here. So it talk about, let's say, increase the sales, although it has, I mean, it opens for scam, it opens for threats, but digital threats, but it also increase sales. Again, when we highlight this part, right click, apply codes. So you're going to find out something about increased sales. Okay, is it okay so far? Can follow or not? Yes, all right. Anyone maybe cannot do it? Anyone here that cannot do it? Yeah. So this is actually, that's why it's not that we don't want to prepare the transcription. It's just because we can code straight away. By using ATLAS.Ti, we can code straight away from the audio data. It saves a lot of time. And it even clear and better. So let's say, for example, Doctor, is it a must to transcribe we're doing a thesis just to testify? Okay, so this is again, this is always the questions. Is it a must? Is it a compulsory to transcribe if we have interview data? So if you're asking me, I would say that it's not compulsory to transcribe. It's not compulsory because if you have a software, if we have a system that can code straight away from audio data is actually is considered as a data, valid data, right? Even when we transcribe, sometimes we just cut away like certain important points, like for example, or maybe the laughing part. But sometimes for those who are using on non-verbal cues, this laughing part, the mumbling, I mean, it also provide meanings, right? But because when we transcribe on paper, when we transcribe, transcribe the interview, we just ignore or we cut that part. We just take the points. Okay. So, but when we listen, oh, this is actually that person using sarcasm, or that person is actually, she laughed. So why she laugh when telling something about this? So it always means something. But just because we don't get from the real audio data, we might miss something else. The same thing goes to the visual. Because sometimes in the visual, we only transcribe whenever that we hear the conversation. But we miss that there are non-verbal communications, or maybe the other students are playing around, so we don't capture that. But if you code it straight away from the visual, from video, so we can see all round. Let's say if it is in the classroom, we can see that the other students are playing, that the other students are answering questions, the other students are just doing things alone, the other students are in a group. But when we transcribe, we just take the points that we listen, okay, instead of the other parts that they are doing, the other action that they are doing. So that is actually, to me, the advantage of using, the advantage of analyzing straight away from our raw data. Okay, yes, when you transcribe, it's still raw data, but certain parts will be missed unless you take it everything. But there will be parts that you don't think that this is not important, this is not important, but you'll spend longer to transcribe, and sometimes we get already cut down. Okay, I don't know, but that's my experience. I don't want to take certain part, I just want to take the important points, so I just go straight to the important point and transcribe. Because let's say for 2 hours interview, sometimes it's up to 25 pages for the transcripts. That's so long for one interview. How about if you have 25 interviews? Okay, all right. So just think about it. All right. It's not that. I wouldn't say that. My stand is it's not compulsory to transcribe, but if you think that it's a good practice to transcribe, because you are also will go back to the university, you will be teaching later, you want to go through the process, by all means do it. Because I've done so that I know that I can share my experience, right? I can share my experience. It's just the same from the data. I analyze the transcribed data and I analyze the audio data. It's just the same, but sometimes it's even better because I got so tired transcribing, and then I analyze the wording, and then I really enjoy listening the data, listening back to the interview, and then I code straight away. But whenever that I think that that part is very important, then I only type that part for the data. Okay? So is it clear? Is it answering the question? But of course you can discuss back with the supervisor. There are supervisors would be also reluctant. No, it's very important. You have to have the transcription. Yes, I think that you working with the supervisor, of course you cannot say, oh, the other Dr. Amalina said that we cannot transcribe. But yeah, I think in terms of the level of maturity, because when we use software, we can skip that transcription. But let's say if your supervisor insists to see the transcription, I think that, yeah, you have to. Okay, right? Okay, shall we proceed? I'm gonna try for once another interview. Okay, let us try for another interview. Okay. So this is another interview. This is online interview, by the way. Yeah, right. That's why I can record. And of course, when we take the interview, when we have the interview, it's very important to get the consent. Okay, to get the consent, whether the data, we can share the data, whether, I mean, for publications, or if is the data not sensitive, so they already give the consent to maybe to be recorded, as well as maybe to use for education purposes, right? Okay, so let's say the same thing when we listen to this part, so the person mentioned about let's stop. Okay, so this part maybe something about e-business, right? E-business, which is actually is a very good platform. Okay, so the same thing, when we highlight, right click, apply code, we go digitalization e-business. Okay, so if we go down, okay, so let's say this part, if let's say something new, okay, if it's about something new, again the same thing, we have to write down digitalization, maybe okay, so she mentioned about competing with the other business owners, so I just put here business competition. Okay, all right, is it okay so far? Can follow? So can we go for video? Okay, so this is the video. So video is actually the same process. Okay, so let's say if we wrongly code, okay, or we wrongly highlighted, so just right click, delete quotation from the project. Okay, so the quotation will be deleted. All right, so it's the same thing here. Let's say this video is actually something about maybe the digitalization process. So maybe we want to highlight this part. Again, we gonna highlight at the wave. Okay, don't move the yellow line. Otherwise we cannot. The orange line. Otherwise maybe we cannot make the quotation. So we just highlight this part. Okay. So maybe that person talk longer here. Okay, just right click. Okay, same process, apply codes. So let's say if actually something about digital technology is something about business innovation, right? So we just choose from the list and add. Okay, can do this. Okay, the same goes to, let's say this person talk about something about, right click, maybe something about apply codes. It's about reinforcement of disruption. Okay, right, so click plus, don't forget plus. Okay, is it okay so far? Can follow? So for the video is almost the same as audio. If you can do for the audio, you can do for the video. The coding is the same process, right? Okay, what we're gonna do next? Remember when I talked about the process just now? Okay, remember when I talked about the process just now? The first, we familiar with the data, and then we start coding, and then we will go next for categorizing. Okay, so we want to categorize our codes. We want to group them. Okay, so what can we do? We go back to home. Okay, we just click save first. We want to save the codes. Okay. Okay, so now we go to home. Anyone would like to have a toilet break? Not toilet break. Do you want to have a toilet break for a while? Or maybe you want to take some drink? Can we have a short toilet break? Okay. So maybe the others can continue because yeah, please. Okay, yeah, you can go. Don't worry. All right. I'll just repeat the process. All right. So we can have a toilet break if you want, or maybe you want to have a coffee break for us for a while. I mean, individual coffee break, right? So I open to questions. If anyone have questions in mind that you would like to ask, can compare. Oh, okay. This is very difficult to answer, right? Between NVivo and ATLAS.Ti, which one is good, which one better? So I would say that if I got a chance to learn both, right? Of course, I want to know more about this software because each and every software, I believe that there is a strength. Okay. So when I started using ATLAS.Ti 7, okay, when I started using ATLAS.Ti 7, my supervisor is very good with NVivo. So she was very good with NVivo. It almost difficult to convince her that I want to use ATLAS.Ti, right? So I started do a research, okay, between ATLAS.Ti and NVivo. So since I have the data in the form of images, documents, my data is also in the video. So I told her, this is actually the reason why I'm using ATLAS.Ti because I have different set of data, right? While NVivo may be good with a certain type of documents, but I do have documents in the form of video as well, in the form of audio that, which is like ATLAS.Ti will be more friendly, all right? So that's why I'm using ATLAS.Ti. Okay, so I have to show to my supervisor how I analyze the data using ATLAS.Ti, and then I have to show to my supervisor this is actually the codes that I prepared. So this is actually the analysis, right? So of course, everyone, we have different views about certain things, but as long as you know, I mean, how to say it? I think it works well with you, right? It works well with you. The same thing goes to quantitative. If you're a quantitative researcher, so I think we do not only have SPSS, but we also have AMOS. We also have Smart PLS, right? So regardless of whatever software that we use, but if actually is actually good for you, it helps us with the data, I think that go ahead regardless of whatever software that you use, right? So of course I did my research, and since I don't use NVivo, okay, I've attended the workshops so long ago, but it's just like maybe I couldn't cope very well with that workshop. So is not on tutorial, it's just on giving like the advantages of using NVivo. So I might miss how to use it, right? So I think it is not good to do a comparison while I'm not using both, right? I'm not using both. I'm just using ATLAS.Ti, and of course, I will be biased. My opinion will be biased to be oldest because I've never used NVivo. So to answer that question, and that's why I say that it's very tough. So perhaps if I use NVivo, it's not that difficult. I've seen they are using notes. It's not that difficult. But it's just I use ATLAS.Ti a lot for my work, for my study, for my research. Even until now, I'm still using ATLAS.Ti, right? So of course, my judgment would be biased to ATLAS.Ti. Please don't count. But if you got a chance to learn NVivo, by all means, go, right? or you can do like sort of short research comparing between these two. I think the same thing that we want to choose phone between Samsung and iPhone, right? So I think that before we buy things, of course, even between MacBook and Asus, I'm using both Windows and me. So between these two, of course, since I'm using Asus and I'm using MacBook, I'm using Windows and I'm using apa OS, we can give a better comparison, right? Better comparison because we are using both, right? We are using both. But if I'm just using one, just using Windows to talk about Apple, that would not be good. Or I'm using Samsung to talk about iPhone, that would not be good. All right. Of course, my judgment will be biased to what I'm using. So unless I'm using two, and then I can give like a better perspective about using these two. Okay. So hope it answered the questions. Of course, you will do research. Please do research, especially when you want to use, because it's the software is it's not free, right? There are free software, but for this ATLAS.Ti, for MVivo, it's not free. So whenever that we want to spend, of course, we will do research the same as we want to buy a computer, a laptop, or we want to buy phone. We will do research first. Which one best for our needs and for our requirements? Okay. Is there any questions? Okay, so let's say, because I think that there's a lot of documents that I've opened at the same time. I just click, close. Okay, right. Okay, so I think that you have come back from restroom, and then maybe you have already got a coffee near to you. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna play a little bit with codes, because we're gonna organize the codes, right? Okay, so can we double click the codes? Dekat home, okay, we can double click the codes. Okay. Okay, so if you want to see the performance, so these are the codes. These are the codes that we have prepared. Okay, from, let's say, from the documents that, not all the documents, although I have actually I have 14 documents. I think that we have done maybe 6 documents, not all the documents yet, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sorry, 8 documents. Okay, so if we look at here, these are the 8 documents that been coded. Okay, so the remaining we have not yet done. All right, that's okay, later. So at least we have codes. Okay, so again, if we go back to home, what we're going to do now, we go back to home. Okay, we can see here, this is actually the documents. We can see the quotations, we can see the codes. Okay, so I don't want to spend more on this, but I think that this is not really important, which is you can do by yourself. Okay, if you click the document, there is actually the documents and documents group. We can group the documents. It's like preparing folder for the documents. When we have like 100 of us documents, I think that is good to group the documents, like making folders in your computer or in your laptop. So it's the same thing like document groups that we're making folder. So to make it easy for us, let's say, for example, we are doing a multidisciplinary, right? Just now someone discussed about preparing apps, right? Development of robotic, for example. So you have actually a folder about robotic, okay? And at the same time, there's also a folder on math, right? On math, something related, any articles related to math, the teaching and learning of math. And then because you're doing on cross-disciplinary, so you have like the folders whenever that you want to go straight to that folder, so it will be very easy and quick to go straight to the folder to find the articles that you want, right? So that is why we need documents group, but I don't use. It has, as I mentioned, there are a lot of functions, but I don't use all. I just use things that I think that suit me best, right? Okay, but the group that is important, this one, codes. Okay, we also have memo. All right, so you can write a memo here, fieldwork memo. All right, please explore. You can just click. Previously, when I didn't use ATLAS.Ti, I I just actually tried to have a memo. I bought a memo, a digital memo, which is like whenever that I use ATLAS.Ti all in one, so I don't need that digital memo anymore, right? So the memo is actually something that can, of course, maybe when you're doing field work, okay, there are, I mean, students can even have like written memo. I think that if you love to bring your diary everywhere and then you write down, this is a very good practice. And then sometimes you love to bring your iPad everywhere. Okay, if you're using iPad, I think it's good. It's embed with a memo. You can write a memo. So in ATLAS.Ti also we have a memo, right? Okay, we also have a networks and links. But what we want to focus now is actually, before we move to networks later, the codes. Okay, these codes, we want to group our codes. Remember, it's actually categorizing, coding. So we are finished with the codes. Now we want to arrange our codes according to categories. So that's why we want to group them. Okay, so to group our codes, we have to use code groups. Okay, we click code groups. Okay, so when we click codes group, we can see new group on top left. Okay, so we click new group. Okay, so now we write down the names of our code group. Okay, so from the codes that we have, I think that we have digitalization, we have e-dagang, we have business, we have innovations, we have, what else we have? We have security, cyber security. Okay, so I think that what names that we can group them together? What names that you can use to group certain codes together? Is there any ideas? What names? Business digitalization. Business digitalization. Let's say digital business. Digital business. What do we say? Yeah, you want to group them. Digital activity. E-dagang, business digital, digitalization, digital business, understanding the role of digital, understanding digital. Okay, let's say I'm gonna use like advantages of digital business. Okay, so this is actually the name that I can think of. So maybe later we can change whenever that we find better names, right, for this group. Okay, so advantages of digital business. So click create. Okay, so now what can we do? We create here. Okay, we click first advantages of digital business. Okay, so for these advantages of digital business, what are the things that we, can relate to these advantages of having digital business? How about business visibility? Can or cannot? Can, right? Okay, we click here. Use this arrow. Okay. How about increase sales? Is it okay? Yes, we can group them together, right? Increase sales. Okay. How about increase corporate and brand awareness? Can, right? Okay. So is it okay? Okay, we group these three first, right? So let's say we're going to have like the second group. Okay, the second group, maybe advantages is too general, but we can make it specific later. Don't worry about it. All right. Okay, so new group. What else that we can say about it? Perhaps these advantages of digital business. Okay, these advantages of digital business. So I click this one first, these advantages, and can we find out what are the disadvantages? Cybersecurity issue, yes, can. What else? Disruption. Is it something? Maybe business competition, because there are, like, everyone can be on the digital, so you have to compete more. So this is actually something about the disadvantages to that person just now. Okay, what else? Support. Okay, is it all? Let me put this one first, reinforcement of disruptions. So later we'll come back and check if it's not good. If it doesn't match, we can just get it out of that group, right? Okay, so these three. Okay, maybe we're gonna have the last one. We're gonna have the last one. What would be the best code group that we can use? Just gonna try this one, business transformation. Business transformation. Business transformation. Digital business transformation. Okay, I create. Okay, so for this digital business transformation, we want to go for e-payment. We want to go for e-business. Previously, we just have the traditional business. Now we have e-business. So it's something about transforming. Let's say it's also about business innovation. Say we just put that one first. Support movement, entrepreneurship. Okay. Okay, so now we have 3 groups, right? We have 3 groups. Is it okay so far? Can follow? Transcript the inbox. Okay. Okay, boleh follow setakat ni? Okay, so we already have 3 groups. Okay, so we go back to home. I'm going to close this one. I'm going to close. Okay, so now we want to do a network. Network is actually a visualization of our findings, okay, of our findings. And we want to show, let's say we want to explain to supervisor, you want to explain, or perhaps that you want to present in a conference, that you want to show this is actually the overall findings of my data. So I'm going to explain in visualizations. Okay, so let us give a try for this one. Okay, we're already at home, right? So we go to network. Okay, we go to network. Okay, click network. Okay, so right, to start with the network, we go to new. Click new. Network. Okay, so we're gonna name our network. So let's say I'm gonna just write digital business. Okay, so we create. Okay, just name the network. I mean, can be any names that relatable, and then we just click create. Okay, so let's say if yours is like this. Okay, so suddenly it's out of your main. Okay, so suddenly it's out, right? Okay, let's say if it is out, okay, whenever that you open your network, let's say it's not in the main window, okay, what you can do, okay, this is the close button, this is the maximize button, this is minimize button. Just near to minimize, dock in main window. So your network has to be parked in the main window, has to be docked. Okay, just click this one. If your network is already docked to your main window, that is totally fine. So you don't have to dock because it's already main window. Because we're gonna drag and drop later. Okay, we're gonna drag and drop. Okay. All right, is it okay, Ken? So what we're gonna do now? We want to visualize our codes. Okay, we want to visualize our codes. Okay, so we want to see all our codes. All right. Okay, so now we just drag and drop. Okay, we just drag and drop. So what to drag? We want to drag codes and drop in our network. Okay, so we can start. So just click the digital innovation and then pull and drop. Boleh tak? Pull and drop. Pull and drop. Pull and drop. You can drop all the network. The codes. Okay. Okay. Are you done? I also want to drag and drop the code groups. Okay, I want to see, okay, we see this one. Just use the arrow, the small, very small arrow. Just click, okay. So I'm gonna drag and drop the code group as well. Okay, drag. The second one and the last one. Okay. So let's say the one that without group, if you want to delete, maybe you want to remove, just remove. Okay. So you can try and design your network. Okay. So there is actually two design. Can you see routing and layout? Boleh nampak tak dekat atas? On top, there is actually routing and layout. Okay, so now click this one. If you want to change to perpendicular, just click so it will change. Nampak tak? Can you see? So let's say if you want to change to orthogonal 3, so it will change like this one. You want to change to circular, so it's gonna be like this one. Kan? So if we're gonna change to circular single, so it will be this one. Okay. So let's say organic. This one organic. Radial. Oh, okay. I want to stay with this one, even though it looks smaller. Try to make it bigger. Okay. Okay, I'm going to see this one, digital business transformation, right? Okay, so what can we do now? is also interesting to like making a relation between these two. Okay, so we can make the relation, like for example, business innovation. If you click this one, okay, we can see like a small dot here, right? Okay, we can link to this one. Okay, perhaps we want to say something that business innovation is what? Or I'm gonna say this one, I'm gonna click this one, or we reverse. Okay, e-payment, digitalization, e-payment. When we click this, okay, we can see that there is a small square. Okay, this square, we're gonna link to another code. Okay, so let's say we're gonna say that digital e-payment is part of business innovation. Okay, we can make the link between these two. Alright, boleh? Okay, let's try again. Okay, so we're gonna say that increase corporate and brand awareness. So this can lead to increased sales. Okay, so let's say we want to talk something. Okay, this one, when we just click this one, we're gonna see that the small square. So this small square, we just link to this one. Okay. Okay, so let's say that there's no relations that relate to what we're gonna say. We go for new relation type. So I'm gonna say something else. Okay, this one leads to. Okay, great. So digital innovation, increase corporate and brand awareness, lead to increased sales. Okay, so another part, we can also add this data. If you right click, so let's say you want to add neighbors or codes or quotations. Let's say if I click quotations, I can see that these are the quotations for this support woman entrepreneurship. Okay, so if I want to see in details what is the quotation all about, okay, link kind of open. Okay, let's say we can go back to the quotation, okay, or we can even wait, I want to preview. If you want to preview, we can see this one. Let's say if we want to preview, okay, so this is actually something about support women. Okay, so if we want to preview, oh, this is actually coming from our data. Yeah, so it's something that support women entrepreneurs, which is relevant to what our data has spoken. Okay, boleh tak? Okay, but if you don't want to have this in your network, that's okay. Just remove from the network. Okay, maybe we don't want to make it messy by having the quotations here, right? We can just remove. I just want to show by everyone. So let's say if we forget, right? So when we mention about business visibilities, what is that business visibility? So which documents that we have coded? So we can double click, and we can even go to the document. Okay, let's say we go back to the list of quotations, we will go back to the documents. See this one? We can go back to this document. So it's actually easy to find out whenever that maybe we just want to double check, we want to maybe have a look back at our codes, or what are the quotations that reflect these codes, so we can always go back and forth, right? Okay, so this is okay, boleh ke? Okay, so just now I mentioned about there are we can either use the layout, Okay, or we can also change the root. Okay, so this is the orthogonal. We can play like this one. We can have, this is polyline, organic, straight routing. Okay, orthogonal. Okay, and if you want to have a color, also can. Maybe for the same code group in the belong to the group, maybe we want to color the same one. Okay, this one, because it belong to the same code group, we want to give the same color. Okay, so this one, let's say if we want to color green. Okay, we want to color green. Okay, okay, then it will be very easier. This one, maybe you want to go for blue. Okay. Okay. So is it okay so far? Can follow? Okay, don't forget to save. Can. Okay, so for these codes, we can also export. Okay, we can also export. Like for example, if we can see here, okay, we can see here export. Okay, boleh nampak kan? Export. Okay. Either this one we want to save as image, or we want to screenshot, also can. But I want to show that for these documents we can also have the code book. Okay, we can, this one we can have a code book. All right, so how to have the code book? Okay, let's say if you want to export the code book to Excel, so we just click here. Okay, code book export. Maybe I go trial ATLAS.Ti documents. All right, open codes list in Excel. Okay, export. Okay, just now when we export to Excel, okay, so this is actually the one that has been exported into Excel. We have, this is actually the codes that we managed to create. And then also comments is also list here. And then we have three groups. Okay, we have three groups. Group number 1, group number 2, group number 3. So these are actually related to our codes. So this is actually if we export to Excel, right? Okay, so let's say if we go to ATLAS.Ti, if we go to the code book, sorry, this is the one that we export just now. Right. Okay, let me go home. Okay, so we have another one. Okay, this is actually the latest for ATLAS.Ti 23. If you're using ATLAS.Ti 22, there's no function for AI coding. Okay, so for this AI coding, we get actually some help from AI to assist for our coding. Okay, so what can we do, right? So before I go to AI coding, if we want to show the word frequencies, what are the words that we have been using, or maybe that we have coded so far? If I click here, this one is actually search and code. This is still near just next to home. So if we go click search and code, we can see that quite a few opinion, mining, concept. Okay, so let us go and check the frequency. Okay, word frequency. So and I click word frequency. So let's say I just click, okay. So let's say from this document, okay, the first document, this is actually the word frequency. So let's say this one. So this is actually the word frequency from this document that I checked. So we can understand, oh, this is actually the one that being spoken. So let us check the text in English. Okay, so if the document 4, so this is actually, for this word frequency, we can only check from the documents. We cannot check from the audio, we cannot trace from the audio. We can only check from the document. So I can see that for my document 4, understanding of this business is actually a lot talking about business, innovation, digitalization, technology management. So if I go to this digitalization, the document 5, so it's about interview, it's about content, dynamic, model, technologies. And if we go to this one, this role of digitalization, so this is actually the one that discussed in this article. So this is actually the word frequency. Okay. Okay, so let us go back. All right. Okay, so now what we want to do is AI coding. So let's say I click AI coding. This is home, this is search and code. We have AI coding. So let's say I click AI coding. Okay. Okay, so I just want to choose one first. Okay, this one, I choose this document. I want to see how AI can help me with this first document. Okay, so I click start coding. I think maybe, I'm not sure if to trial we can try for this one or not, but yeah, I can choose all, but because it will take longer, even one document, it will take 2 minutes for AI to code. So confirm. So AI will help with coding of the article, right? But of course, if you ask me between AI coding and human coding, I would go for human coding. But to get some idea from AI, yes, but still, we are the one that do the coding. Sometimes, whenever I check the AI coding, I feel that macam mana nak buat tema, lepas lepas coding dan kategori macam mana? Oh, okay. I'll answer this question later, right? So, sometimes AI coding, I think that if we go to AI, we admit that there are still errors, right? Depending on the metadata that AI have for this one. So the same thing, if we look at here, we can get some ideas, and we can get like in terms of themes. Okay, that's question now, just now. Okay, so this is actually some of the codes that AI suggested, and it can also be some of the themes that we can use. Okay, but it's just here that's a mix between Indonesian, Malaysian, and also English. Okay, if you can look at here. All right, so this is actually the AI coding for one document. Okay, just now. Oh, okay. Trial version cannot do AI. Really sorry about it. All right, but this is for if you're having like mine, I can go for AI, but I don't think, but not for the trial version. Okay, so this is actually the suggestions from AI. Okay, like pemasaran melalui media, marketing through media. So AI also suggested something about technology, right? But still, I think that this is actually from just one article. Okay, so this is actually the AI result.